Kento, a young architecture student who'd lost his passion, stared at the vacant city lot. Another soulless skyscraper was destined for this patch of dirt. He set up his theodolite, squinting through the lens, preparing to map the dead space. But instead of cracked concrete and weeds, he saw a lush garden. A beautiful wooden-framed greenhouse stood in the center, shimmering in the afternoon sun. He pulled back, confused. The illusion vanished. Just dirt. He looked again. The garden was back. And this time, someone was in it. A girl, her hands on her hips, was glaring right at him. He instinctively took a step back and she yelled, "Hey! You're stepping on my hostess. My fuchsia grew right there." Kento looked down. There was nothing. He called back, "There's nothing here but concrete." She walked right up to the edge of her world, which was his lens, and gently guided his eye back to the eyepiece. The vibrant colors rushed back into view. The scent of damp earth and flowers seemed to fill the air. Inside the greenhouse, she picked up an empty envelope from a dusty table. The front read, "For Yumi, from Dad." She turned to him, her expression curious. "What year is it for you?" she asked. Kento, still reeling, answered, "It's 2025. Yumi frowned. 1994, she said. "Isn't it the same?" The gap between them suddenly felt like more than just time. Overwhelmed, Kento packed up his gear and turned to leave. As he walked away, he found a small folded note tucked under his tripod. It was her handwriting. "Come back. I won't go anywhere." He couldn't stay away. That night, under the glow of the city, Kento returned to the vacant lot. Yumi was waiting for him, a lantern casting a warm light inside the phantom greenhouse. She wanted to show him something. "The house remembers," she whispered, tracing a thin crack in the wooden frame. This is from the time Dad danced with me here in the rain." She told him stories embedded in the very walls of her home. A scratch on the floor from a dropped toy, a smudge on the glass from a whispered secret. Kento felt a long-lost spark ignite. He took out his sketchbook, the one he hadn't touched in months, and began to draw her. It was the first time he'd drawn something that felt truly alive. Yumi watched, fascinated. She pointed at his phone as it lit up with a notification. "Is this your mirror? It's so small." Kento laughed, a genuine laugh that surprised even him. "No, it mostly just shows ads." She smiled and picked a sprig of mint from a pot, handing it to him. Its sharp, fresh scent was real. As he held it, he felt his hardened perspective soften. He was beginning to see her world, not just through the lens, but with his heart. Haunted by the impossible connection, Kento needed answers. He spent the next day buried in the city archives, scrolling through microfiche of old newspapers from 1994. His heart stopped when he found it. A faded, grainy photo under a stark headline, "Local girl dies in fire. Protecting father's blueprints." The girl in the picture was Yumi. He raced back to the lot, his mind screaming. The air was colder now, the edges of the greenhouse flickering like a weak signal. Yumi was there, but she looked translucent, her form wavering. "The house!" Kento choked out, the words catching in his throat. "It burned down! With you inside." Yumi's eyes widened, filling with a sorrow that spanned decades. "So," she whispered, a single tear tracing a path down her fading cheek, "I'm already gone?" Kento knelt, his own tears falling onto the barren ground. "No," he insisted, his voice cracking. "You're not gone. Because I remember you." As he said it, her form dissolved into 1,000 points of shimmering golden light, and then she was gone. The lot was empty again, silent and gray. But Kento made a vow to the empty space. "I won't let them erase you." Construction was scheduled to begin. Kento, armed with his newfound purpose, presented a revised plan to his professor, Mr. Sakamoto, the lead architect on the project. Sakamoto dismissed it out of hand. "We don't rebuild the past, Kento," he said coolly, looking over the sleek, modern design for the new tower. "We pave over it." That's progress. Defeated but not broken, Kento went home. He spent days and nights feverishly redesigning the skyscraper. He couldn't bring Yumi back, but he could build a home for her memory. His new design was a marvel, a sleek glass tower, but at its core, a soaring atrium shaped like the old greenhouse, with a delicate wooden frame inside the glass. A garden in the sky, he had to tell her. He returned to the lot one last time, calling her name into the void. She appeared, faint and ethereal. He told her the truth about the fire, about her death. As he spoke, the phantom house began to collapse around them, not into rubble, but into burning memories. Flames licked the walls, the roof caving in with the sound of splintering wood and shattering dreams. Yumi looked at him, her expression firm despite the chaos. "Anchors shouldn't drown with the ship," she said, her voice a clear bell in the roar of the fire. She placed her hands on his chest and pushed him back out of her world. The greenhouse door slammed shut, and he was alone on the cold concrete, the vision finally and completely gone. He was alone, but his resolve was forged in the fire of her memory. The day of the foundation pour arrived with a downpour. Gray skies wept over the city as concrete trucks lined up at the construction site. This was his only chance. Kento sprinted through the rain, past bewildered workers, and vaulted over the safety barrier. He leaped into the massive rebar-filled pit just as the chute began to release the wet concrete. In his hand, he clutched a copy of her father's blueprints, the ones she died trying to save. He thrust them deep into the rising gray sludge, embedding them in the very heart of the new building. For a single, breathtaking moment, a pulse of golden light erupted from the pit. Vines of pure energy bloomed from the concrete, weaving themselves into the perfect shape of the greenhouse, holding for a heartbeat before fading away. "You asked for a window," Kento thought. "So I built you a whole sky." 2 years later, the skyscraper stood tall, a jewel in the city's skyline. Inside, the grand atrium was a public sanctuary, a living, breathing forest of green under a glass ceiling. At its heart was a wooden frame structure, an exact replica of Yumi's greenhouse, open for all to walk through. Kento sat on a bench, sketching the children who played among the flowers. The afternoon sun slanted through the high windows, casting a long beam of light onto the far wall. And in that light, a shadow appeared. It was Yumi, holding a watering can, tending to the phantom flowers only she could see. She looked over, smiled at him, and then, as gently as she appeared, she vanished with the light. Kento smiled back. "You asked me to leave a window open for you," he thought. "So I gave the whole city a sky to remember you in. The past isn't gone. It's just waiting to be built into the future."